Hello, everyone. I am Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, and I'm the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, where our mission is to empower women through estate planning. Welcome. I wanted to create a space where people could come each Wednesday and be informed, empowered, and inspired. And through our guests and our educational content, my hope is to provide you with glimpses of what an empowered woman is and what tools are needed to win. And that's how Women Winning Wednesdays, the live series, was born. As a reminder, I want you to give StreamYard permission to for us to see your comments. And you can do that by going to StreamYard.com/Facebook. StreamYard.com/Facebook. So you do that at Facebook, and then we'll be able to see your comments. I'm really excited about our guest today. It's an understatement to say that she's a trailblazer, and I'm honored to call her a colleague as well as a friend. You'll learn more about her accomplishments throughout our conversation, but I just want to mention a few right now. Attorney Beverly Winstead is the first Black woman and person of color to serve as the chair of the tax section of the Maryland State Bar Association since its founding in 1896. You heard me correctly, 1896. For her tax expertise, she's been featured in Forbes magazine. In 2019, she was a guest on Maryland Public Television's Public Square program, discussing the then recent changes in the tax laws. And she is currently the chair of the tax section for the National Bar Association. Without further ado, I bring you attorney Beverly Winstead. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you for having me.
I'm honored to have you, and I'm just thrilled that we're doing this. This is gonna be fun. Again, for those of you who are chiming in or tuning in, please make sure that we can see your comments on StreamYard. Say hi to me, say hi to Beverly. Let us know where you're listening from. And send us an emoji or something, and by all means share the live so that we can just get this message out there. So Beverly, let's just jump right into it. Tell the audience a bit about yourself, where you grew up, and about your tax practice.
Okay. Well, before I begin, I just want to say thank you, Elsa, for doing this. Attorney Smith. I always call you Elsa. But yeah, I think this is really cool. I remember asking you when you reached out to me why you do this, and essentially what you said was you wanted to do it because you wanted to create a space for women to feel empowered. And I just think this is amazing. And we need to support each other in more aspects. So I definitely give a huge kudos to you.
You are so welcome. Thank you. So
Okay.
Tell us a bit about yourself. We're dying to know.
Well, I am just a country girl. This is why I tell people I'm just a country girl. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, Roxborough, North Carolina. And interesting enough, there's a really, really famous person that is from the city, but nobody ever, he doesn't mention it because he actually recently found out, and that's LL Cool J. He claims New York, but he actually spent the first 3 months of his life in Roxborough, and his family's still there. And he found out through Henry Louis Gates when they were doing the DNA, ancestry tests.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm from. I, just grew up small country girl, and I'm here, and I got into tax because when I was in college, I ended up going to Bowie State University on a basketball scholarship originally, but I transferred over to an academic scholarship, I think my second year, and really fell in love with finances and business. And corporate tax was one of those things I really, really, really enjoyed. Had an amazing professor, Joe Laciano, and really created that passion. And when I graduated from college, one of my first jobs was with an accounting firm, a tax accounting firm, helping people resolve tax problems. My mentor, Robert Thomas, at that time used to work for IRS, and retired, and he made a suggestion saying, hey, I think you should go to law school because we need more Black tax attorneys. And because he was so instrumental in, I think, those formative years, I did go to law school, really had a great time at University of Maryland, and started my practice when I got out.
And tell us a bit about how your practice, your tax practice helps the public.
In two ways. What I like to do is I really like to share my story about how I graduated from law school, and I was just inundated with debt, right? I owed over $100,000 in student loan debt. So
Wow.
For me, it wasn't tax problems. It was student loan debt. And I understand how when you're in debt, it can keep you up at night. And I just wanted to, because I had so much knowledge with taxes and I understood, how people first get into tax trouble. And I also understood how to help people get out of it. That was just, I felt like my calling, and I've been doing that ever since I got out.
Now, as the American Bar Association released statistics not too long ago that showed that just 5% of attorneys are Black. And that percentage, I imagine, is probably even smaller in your field in tax law. I kind of think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Did you ever have those moments that most of us attorneys of color have of being the only one, only woman, insert person of color in the room? And if you did, how did you navigate those spaces?
Did I? Oh my gosh. I think before I tell you how I navigated it, one of the things I'm most passionate about now is making sure that we bring more persons of color into the tax realm. That's why I'm teaching at the University of Maryland. That's why I've taken leadership roles with the MSBA tax section, with the National Bar tax section, with the ABA when I was in leadership there, is because I'm not trying to be the only one. Okay. I like to party. Okay. And I want to party with people that understand how I like to party, how I like to dance,
All
what I like
right
to drink, so I think for me, one of the challenges I did have is being in a room and not having anybody look like me. It's funny because when we did have dinners, like these huge annual dinners with the Maryland State Bar Association, and I would be the only Black person in the room except for the waiters and waitresses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember they would always cling to me. Like they were like, oh, what do you, and I would go up to them and it was as if, I felt like I was shouldering the burden, but I never treated them badly. I always would go up and speak to them, and they were just in shock that I would come up and speak to them. It wasn't like that. I'm just like, hey, by the grace of God, I ended up being on this path, and being able to get such an amazing education and being able to use my skills and talents to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in terms of being the only person in the room, it's and how I navigated it. I would, and I think we talked about this when we were prepping. One of the things I used to do, because I used to be filled with so much anxiety when I would have to go to these rooms. I didn't have a whole lot of experience. I didn't have a huge network. Mm-hmm. I didn't at that time have a lot of mentors. But one of the things I knew was that if at least I show up, people will begin to be comfortable with me. And one of the things, when I say people that don't look like me, And sometimes they're actually trying to find ways to connect with us. It's just that they don't know how because we don't do a whole lot of interaction with people that don't look like us.
Let me jump in for a second. That point that you mentioned was just showing up. You know, a lot of times, you know, we, you know, attorneys of color, we may get invites, you know, to, like you said, the dinners, the networking events, and we might take a pass because we're like, you know, there's probably, like you said, there's probably not going to be folks, other colleagues that look like me that I can connect with. But you took a different approach. You said, you know what, let me just jump off the deep end. What the heck? Let me show up and see what happens. I mean, where did that come from, or is that just a natural part of you? It's like, you know,
No,
let's do it.
trust me. I mean, I want to be comfortable. I want to have a good time, but I actually hated. I hated it. I dreaded going to these events, but I
Wow.
knew it was going to be instrumental in me growing as an attorney, in me finding those mentors that I needed. And trust me, I was in rooms and people weren't always nice to me. You know, one of the things that I did was I would kind of challenge myself. I say,
Mhm.
okay, Beverly, you know, you need to go to this event. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to, I would set a goal. I would set a goal to talk to at least 3 people, you
Okay.
know, at the event. And I said, look, all you got to do, you don't have to stay long. You know, it was maybe a dinner or a reception or some kind of program. I would say, look, I would have my pep talk like when I was playing basketball. Okay, this is what you're going to do in the game. You're going to try to score like 15 points. By halftime, you're going to have 10 of those. So the second half, you just going to relax. You can get 5. So I would have these kind of, in budgeting, we call it performance measures, right?
Okay.
These performance marks. And so, which is what I did before being a tax attorney, I did budgeting. But I would say, okay, you're going to talk to 3 people. As soon as you talk to 3 people, you can leave. And I would do this reward system for myself. And the reward system was, depending on how I was feeling, it was either after I talked to 3 people, I would either buy myself ice cream, and I would not spare any. I wouldn't be cheap with myself. I would go straight to Cold Stone. I ain't talking about going
Oh,
to, I'm not talking about
yes.
going to the store, right, and buying a popsicle. No, I'm like, okay, you can go to Cold Stone. You know, Cold Stone is like $5,
That's the
$6.
good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff. I say now, my dad would be rolling over in his grave right now if he knew I went and bought a $7 one serving ice cream as opposed to a whole bucket of ice cream, right? So I would say, okay, you're going to, and at that time I didn't have a whole lot of money either. Because remember, I was graduating with $100,000 in student loan debt. So my
Mhm.
emphasis, my focus was really trying to pay down my debt. But I did reward myself. I said, okay, hey, you can buy yourself an ice cream. Or if I was really having one of them hard days, I said, you could buy yourself an alcoholic drink. You can go to the bar, you can buy yourself a drink. Either way, I was going to treat myself.
All right.
And that's what I did repeatedly. And when I got into the room, I would talk to 3 people. Mostly they were white men, you know, and I would go down, I would check off the list. Okay, that's 1 down. And then that's 2 down. Okay, babe, you almost there. You almost there. That's 3 down, right? And so it got to a point where the same people were always in the same rooms. And so we began to get comfortable with each other. So as time went on, I would walk into the room and people would be like, "What's up, Bev? How you doing?" You know, and we're talking like older white men, right? Because
Yeah.
that's who dominates this profession. And the other thing I found is my connection to a lot of them, because I didn't have kids, I wasn't married. So that
Mhm.
was kind of like a level of discomfort in the beginning, because people would just automatically assume, hey, how's your, you know, that's just an easy point of reference for people. But for me, it was basketball. It was sports. I began to talk to them about, and March Madness. Oh my God. I could talk to them for days about any team that was playing in college basketball.
Wow.
So it began to be fun for me, and it began to be a game. Like, okay, what new person am I going to meet today? So it went from 3 people now to I'm talking to like 6 people.
So you had, you know, I love that, because what could have been a cause for you to alienate yourself and keep yourself out of it, you turned it on its head and you're like, no, this, I'm going to use this to my advantage. And you did, and you found something that clicked. And it wasn't just, I know we talked off camera about this, but it wasn't just in basketball. It was in other sports too, right?
Yeah, I could talk about golf because I play golf.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about volleyball because I play volleyball. One of the judges that sits on the tax court, his daughter played volleyball. So I
Mm-hmm.
found that out. I began to talk to him about volleyball and how she was doing. So for me, it was always listening, trying to find the point of connection for people.
Yeah, no, and that's key, and that's I wanted to focus on that, or bring attention to that for everybody that's listening. That that's a tip. That's a takeaway. Find something where you can actually connect with other people in the room and use it, exploit it, work it. Because Beverly can work a room, even if it's her three at a time or four at a time. She's gonna get that ice cream. She's gonna get that drink.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get my ice cream now. Strawberry blonde. That was the what. That's what I would do.
Ooh.
It had the graham crackers, the chocolate chips, the white chocolate chips,
Oh my
the
God.
pineapples. Yeah.
Now I'm like getting hungry and couldn't go. So listen, aside from everybody, at least, especially in the attorney world, but outside of it, people know you as, this rock star tax attorney. And they know you also as an athlete, and you've shared that. But you've actually received some really important accolades due to your athleticism. Tell us a bit about some of the awards that you've won over the years.
Over the years, you mean when it came to athletics or
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
yeah,
in basketball, and I mean, because you've won some pretty impressive awards.
yeah. I think the height of my success was in college. Got recently, I won't say recently, in 2014, 2015, 2017, I was inducted into the Bowie State Hall of Fame for playing basketball, for everything I did when I was in college, and that was winning championships, conference championships, making it to the Sweet 16 Division II, and yeah, that was basketball. I think I
Nice.
enjoyed my high school playing days better.
Okay.
Yeah, it was when I played on a phenomenal team with, I mean, just some great athletes, had some of the best coaches, and we really cared about each other too. And we ended up finishing second in the state.
Wow.
And my junior year and then my senior year, we lost in the Final Four to the team that actually went ahead and won the state championship. But I really miss my college my high school days. Yeah.
Did the things that you learned and continue to learn is from being an athlete, the teamwork, camaraderie, the discipline, has that helped you in your professional career as an attorney?
Yeah, when I think about basketball and I think probably the lessons that I learned, and the most important lesson that resonates with me is that honestly, life is about performance. People don't really care what's happening in your life as long as you perform and do what they hired you to do, then that's what matters. When you look at the greats like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and what's his name, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis played that championship game with like a broken shoulder or something.
Oh,
Like he had a broken arm, and they still won. The Ravens won that year. And at the end of the day, people don't. Uh, if they had lost, people won't. They're not going to say, "Oh, it's because Ray had that broken shoulder." They're going to be like, "No, they lost." Life is about performance, So no matter what's happening in your world and in your life, I think for me, the thing that has kept me going when things have been hard is
mhm.
because in the back of my mind, I always know that at the end of the day, I have to perform.
Now I know that things have not always been rosy for rock star tax attorney Beverly Winstead. And around 2011, you had some pretty traumatic things happen in your world, in your life. And you talked about showing up in spite of or in the face of those things. Talk to us about what happened during that period.
Yeah, 2011 undoubtedly was the most difficult period in my life. For those of you who know me, you know me very well. I did lose my brother, my younger brother, that year. I lost him to liver disease,
Mm.
and it was a very trying time, to have to lose, I think bury your little brother, and then on top of that, I think a week later, my grandmother passed away. And then that was in July. Then in October, my mentor, who also was helping me build this business, he passed away. I was playing golf with him, and he had a heart attack right there on the golf course. So, I'm trying to call 911 and get him help. And basically, he passes away right there in front of me. And then right after that, a week later, my office manager, she passed away.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I went through I think, a clearing
Mm.
of people that were close to me in such a short period of time. And honestly, it was devastating. It was devastating. Um, it goes back to performance. I don't even think I had time to grieve. And no, it wasn't even think I didn't have time to grieve, because at the end of the day, I still had clients to serve. I still had, to do things in order to continue to live for myself. And it was a very challenging time.
I don't, and I certainly don't want to gloss over or brush over that because, losing one person is bad enough, but you had multiple in succession. The strength, the inner strength that you had to have and that you still have, because, you're still feeling it. Um, it's, it, it's amazing. And it's something that people need. I want people to learn from, that it is possible, to come out on the other side and still, as Beverly says, show up, because life continues. So we have to carry that pain. We have to, do whatever it is, whether it's spiritually, physically, however it is that we need to work it to show up. We have to find a way to do that. And what Beverly does, and I really believe it has a lot to do with your sports background. I mean, 'cause a lot of the athletes that I know, I am not. I mean, I play golf, but I am totally a novice.
Oh, we got to get on that golf course then.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know, the putt court. But it's how did those losses, and particularly the loss of your brother, that really inspired you to get into philanthropy, right?
It did. I mean, my brother and I, we were very close. We were, it's important. I don't want to discount that I just picked up and was a strong person. I actually went into a shell for like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
remember there were certain people that would call me every day, almost every day, and say, Beverly, you need to get out of bed. You need to get up. You need to do X, Y, and Z. Or they would come over to my office and stop by and pray with me. And I really needed that at that phase in my life. And then it just, after I think about 2 years, I think it was probably 2013, a couple of my friends from law school took me on a trip down to Key West. That was my first time in Key West. And after I came back from that trip, I said, okay, the grieving period is over. It's time for you to get on with life. But I will say, even in that year and a half, I didn't know that I wasn't grieving. I was actually grieving, but still showing up every day to work, still assisting clients, still showing up to family functions, still. But most of that, you've seen or you've heard about, what you call it, functioning alcoholics.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly what I was, a functioning grieving person,
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until, like I said, I took that trip to Key West that I finally said, okay, it's time for you to stop grieving. This happened. Celebrate that person's life. The people that God allowed you to come into contact with, it was truly a blessing. Now it's time for you to really move forward, because I came to give you life, and I want you to have life more abundantly. That's what God says.
And that what you just shared, Beverly, is it underscores that, like the statement that you don't know what people are going through. So, be mindful of how you treat others, because you were still showing up, but you were grieving.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a lesson to all of us. It's like, be mindful. You may be going through stuff, but you don't know what the next woman, the woman next to you is going through, and she may show up with her lipstick and everything. That's an inside joke, with her lipstick and looking all fly. But inside she may be going through stuff.
Right.
So,
And
we
that's
all
why,
need to be
again, I
mindful.
commend you for doing this, because as women, you know, I won't mention everybody that, text me or, called me or said, hey, Beverly, you got to get up. But it was a circle of women, that mainly did it. There were some guys too in there, definitely.
Mhm.
Um, and it's important to have those relationships and who we call our girl tribe, because you're going to need it along this journey of life, not just business, not just entrepreneurship, but this journey of life. You need to have your tribe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted, and I know we started to talk about it, but we kind of went off in another direction. But tell us about the scholarship, specifically the scholarship that you created, and the fundraising efforts that you do each year.
Oh yeah. So, you know, part of in 2017, God gave me this idea to start a nonprofit foundation in memory of my brother. And it was as if he was taken from tragedy to triumph. And what we do is we help people that help high school seniors, mainly in North Carolina and in other small at-risk towns like the town we grew up in, who need financial assistance to go into college. So we also provide mentorship opportunities for them. So since 2017, 2018 is really when we hit the ground running. We've offered scholarships to 13 students to help them financially pay for college.
And what's the name of your foundation or your nonprofit?
Oh yeah, it's the Lewis Eddie Winstead Memorial Fund.
Hmm. Hmm. And again, for everyone viewing, taking tragedy and turning it into a triumph. Beverly is blessing, and her nonprofit are blessing so many people, so many young people. So she made a decision not to retreat into her shell or stay in that shell that she was admittedly in. She made a decision to come out of that shell and say, no, I'm going to do something different with my life. And I have an obligation to help others with what I've been blessed with. And,
Mm-hmm.
and she did it, and she does it so well, and she continues to. Um, wow. I knew this was going to be awesome. I just love you. You're just such an
Well, I
awesome
love you too, Elsa. I
person.
remember the first time I met you.
How
You
long
came.
ago was that? Oh my God. It seems
It
like,
was at Keisha Garner's, I think, Attorney Garner's a birthday party,
oh my God.
and
Oh wow.
probably
Okay.
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you ran up to me. He was like, "Oh my God, I finally get to meet you in person." And I was like, "Oh my God, I finally get to meet you in person."
I
Wow.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's just a joy. It's an honor to know you, to have you in my sphere of influence. And you do such good work for the people of Maryland, through your practice and through your philanthropic works. How can people get in contact with you? I mean, if they want to become a client of your firm, they need tax help. May 17th is just around the corner, people.
I know.
Y'all
Don't
need to call
remind me.
Beverly.
You see this vein, this line running through my forehead? It's because I got a million emails I got to respond to.
Oh my
I
God.
get texts, I get everywhere. I try to get to everyone,
Get
but
those
it just.
extensions.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Extensions definitely. But to get in touch with me, a couple of ways. You can visit my website at www.irshelpattorneys.com. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as at IRS help attorney. And then you can call me at 301-306-1234. A very easy number, 301-306-1234.
Awesome. Attorney Beverly Winstead, my. It has really been a pleasure talking to you on camera. It's a hoot talking to you off camera too. But it's really been a joy. Thank you so much for sharing your story. My hope is that particularly the women who are watching are going to learn from that and see that, that there is hope on the other side of tragedy. And, we just have to make a decision. And as you said, we need to show up. And so many of us do. Again, lipstick and hair done and everything and all, we still keep showing up and we're going through stuff, but we just got to push through. And that importance of having a tribe, oh my goodness. And it doesn't have to be a big tribe. I got 3 ladies that are spread out across the country that they're my nucleus. So I hear you. I know exactly what you mean. Thank you so much. You've been such a blessing to me and everybody who's been watching. Everybody, y'all know how to get in contact with Beverly. I'm going to put her contact information up on the screen one more time, 301-306-1234. Beverly, it's been a joy. Thank you so much, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Be well. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Women Winning Wednesdays. My goodness, what a wonderful interview. I want you to reach out to Beverly Winstead if you've got tax issues that you need assistance with. Particularly if you're in the state of Maryland, you need to call Beverly. Check out her contact information that'll be posted below this video when it's on replay. If you, by any chance, are catching this on the replay, leave a comment in the comment section, #replay, to let us know that you're catching it on the replay. If you need help with your wills and estate planning and you need a strategy, I want you to contact us at the law offices, my offices of Elsa W. Smith, if you're in Maryland or in DC. If you'd like to see free educational videos, check out my growing YouTube channel at Elsa W. Smith Law. Again, that's Elsa W. Smith Law. You'll even get to see prior episodes of Women Winning Wednesdays. So check that out, subscribe. My community is growing. We'd love to have you. I want you to join us next week right here on Women Winning Wednesdays at 1:30 for our next live guest. It's going to be fabulous. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Take care.